With most gacha games out there, endgame content will be featured, which is where majority of players will strive to reach as soon as to test the limits of their skills and to experience the most difficult content the game has to offer. However, rarely ever is endgame content in a gacha game improved upon often or added, and so it just becomes unenjoyable very quick. Additionally, a core aspect of games these days is the ability to enjoy playing online with friends, which majority of gacha games have failed to provide a meaningful and fun co-op experience. Now that being said, with the release of 1.3, Wuthering Waves has not only dropped new endgame content within Tower of Adversity, but have also dropped one of the best events we will likely ever receive, being the Fairy Tales Finale co-op event. So I'm going to be going over the recent endgame content additions within 1.3, the possible impact it may have on the future, and how Wuthering Waves has done co-op right in gacha gaming. Just before we jump into it, as always, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more Wuthering Waves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video.
Astral modulation.
Now within 1.3, along with the Fairy Tales Finale event being added, the Overdrive Zone within Tower of Adversity is another addition to the game, which is only accessible once you clear all of the stages within the Hazard Zone. So that being said, you can expect some stages from the Overdrive Zone to be on the same level as the final stages from the Hazard Zone, and some will be slightly more difficult. So with more difficult content already being added into the game, it shows Wuthering Waves is staying true to one of their core principles, which is to ensure that there is content capable of providing players with a challenge. Now, as I just mentioned, you are only able to access the Overdrive Zone after completing every stage of the Hazard Zone. So for the players that still haven't been able to achieve just that, would then be missing out on the chance to take on the Overdrive Zone and to claim the asteroids you are rewarded with. However, with Kuro being as amazing as they are, they have removed the fear of missing out with the Overdrive Zone, since it's a permanent mode that you can complete whenever you do have access to it. Also, as it is a permanent addition to the game, it doesn't add on to the pressure of having to clear another mode before reset, whereas other games have stacked up many different time limited modes where players are required to clear before they reset, which ultimately turns it into more of a chore. So along with providing more difficult content, making it permanent really just allows for players to choose when they would like to play through it, and if you aren't able to clear all of the floors, you can return whenever you like. Also, with the fact that you aren't required to 3-star every stage in order to pick up all of the asteroid rewards, as only 9 stars out of 18 is required, provides players with the option to either go all of the way in the Overdrive Zone or to just reach the point where you have picked up all of the asteroids, which again allows for there to be less pressure on casuals and for hardcore players to attempt more difficult content if they really want to. So with that, I do hope that more permanent endgame content is added within Tower of Adversity, just like the Overdrive Zone, as the way they have implemented it is perfect in every way. So considering the fact that Kuro do definitely listen to the player base, they may just go through with it, and I would not be surprised, as a permanent mode where floors become increasingly more difficult would be amazing and would somewhat justify power creep, since stronger characters will release, and if the difficulty of endgame remains the same, then there really is no point in picking up stronger characters. Of course, free-to-play characters would still likely be able to clear, just as they are able to clear the Overdrive Zone floors, but for players that do prefer an easier experience, they would then have reason to summon for the newest and strongest characters. Now on to quite possibly the best event in the game, which is unfortunately time limited. The new co-op hologram boss mode is exactly what Wuthering Waves needed, and is something I have personally been waiting to see happen for a while, which is for a gacha game to provide meaningful and a fun co-op experience so that you have a reason to team up with friends, rather than farming for echoes and completing simple tasks you would be able to clear by yourself. So now diving into the co-op mode itself, you are able to either clear all of the stages by yourself, or you have the chance to team up with 2 other players to take on hologram bosses. Along with that, you are given the opportunity to select one of many Echonoids to use, just like within our previous co-op event, and these Echonoids really do change everything, since they don't make the event feel as if you are just taking on a hologram boss, as they all have unique passive abilities that you can activate in battle, such as providing a shield to allies that nullifies all damage for 6 seconds, or casting a healing shield that will recover HP. So again, even if you are attempting to clear all of the stages solo, then the addition of the Echonoids really do spice it up and does make the event even more fun. Additionally, since you are able to play alongside many different players through matchmaking, naturally it would lead to many different team combinations you'll be able to play in, as you can choose to go with a support such as the Shorekeeper with other players being DPS characters, or if you're feeling up to it, going in with 3 DPS characters would definitely be an option and the most extreme approach in taking on this new co-op event. So due to the fact that you likely have a good amount of characters built up, it can lead to a lot of different team comps and for the battles to not always feel the same. Now just like with the Overdrive mode, as difficult as it is to complete the harder stages of the new co-op event, to be able to pick up all of the Astrite rewards doesn't require you to complete every stage, since the more valuable rewards requires you to only play through the easier stages of the event and doesn't force you into having to clear the more difficult stages. However, if you are able to clear the more difficult stages, then you are still rewarded with some echoes and credits. But to be fair, it's more for the enjoyment of taking on difficult content. Additionally, through matchmaking with other players online, it pretty much allows for more experienced players to be able to carry players that do need help, especially with whales that do have S6 characters, as they would likely be able to clear through the more difficult stages quite easily. So for players that do struggle on the difficult stages would then be able to leave it to the more hardcore players and the whales to clear the stage, whilst they sit back and use any support character even if they are massively underleveled. So the execution of both the Overdrive mode and the new co-op event has been perfect, as you aren't forced into attempting content way out of your skill or account level by yourself, but if you want to, then you can attempt to clear content pretty much on the same level as hologram bosses alongside some of your friends or even random players online. Now as I mentioned earlier, the co-op mode is unfortunately a time limited mode, which I really did hope when it was initially announced that this mode would become a permanent mode, as it really just fills the void within co-op since there's hardly anything to do. Whereas at the beginning of the game you would hunt and farm echoes together with friends along with clearing through enemies a lot quicker. However, it's safe to assume no one should really be struggling with open world enemies now and would be able to clear through them relatively quick. So with that, co-op is seriously lacking content to enjoy with friends, and it's a shame that this event will soon leave. But taking into consideration the generous rewards this event actually does provide and the potential it does have to become even better, due to the implementation of Econoids which was unexpected and the fact that bosses have their own buffs, for this event to leave and return similar to the Elusive Realm might be a much better decision, as then the event would be able to provide the rewards it does again and will receive exciting new changes with the Econoids and the buffs the enemies receive. So again, as Kuro definitely does listen to the player base, I would expect this to be the case and for the event to release again not too long after it leaves. Also, with the new improvements and changes it will undergo, it will remove the feeling of the mode being repetitive and will feel fresh every time it does come back. So with that, I definitely do expect for this mode to make many more appearances within the future, as it is really an amazing co-op mode that allows players to enjoy the brutal experience Wuthering Waves is able to offer together. Overall, it's only being 1.3, and for us to receive additional endgame content in Tower of Adversity and within co-op already, just goes to show how amazing these devs are. Allowing for players to also not feel forced into clearing exactly everything in order to receive the basic rewards, and specifically with the Overdrive Zone being permanent, is just great implementation of these modes as they really do cater to every player. So again, with us just being in 1.3, I do certainly see more endgame content being implemented into Tower of Adversity with even more difficult stages being added, along with the co-op hologram boss mode to make quite a few reruns and each time feeling slightly different than the last to provide a fun and fresh experience. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more Wuthering Waves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on your thoughts on these new modes. Do you feel like they're fun and have been implemented perfectly, or if not, what changes would you like to see in the future? And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.